peace of God sits in your heart.
Yes, Pastor.
When you feel that fine, there is a portion that we haven't sung where it says, but even this one, because if our sins were all nailed at the cross and we have no case with God whatsoever, then whatever besets us, we have that eternal hope.
Exactly.
That
Pastor.
one day, and surely one day, God will put all things to their normal state. And so, child of God, that is the basis of our emotional well-being. Whether you like it or not, whether you are good or not, whether you try to do things perfectly or not, things that piss us off, things that perturb our emotions, things that disturb our thinking, mentality, and whatever are bound to happen. However good, even if you're a good Christian, I don't mean that it's not good to be a good Christian, but even Christians, just remember a person like Job, whom even God himself is giving a recommendation. How I wish I was the one.
I know.
When God is discussing, have you considered my servant Job?
know.
But I even wonder today if God can even speak about me.
I know.
Because I feel I'm not worth anything. But remember, God himself to say, my student, if I was a teacher, I'm proud of my student, and this student is going to do very well. But God was the one commending Job. But Job got emotional problems. He got issues that could disturb his emotions.
Now, you know, Pastor,
Yes,
you're talking to Job, and you're trying to give a description of who Job was and the situation he went through. But there is that teenager, that ambassador outside there.
Yes, please.
He's waiting to see whether we are going to tackle on their emotional problems and how can we solve their emotional problems. They are waiting to see and to hear, really, how can I be helped? Pastor, when we talk about emotional wellness, someone will tell you, if I'm emotionally down, how can I really be lifted up? Someone even, you find someone, people are dying of emotional problems.
Sure.
Now we are here talking about emotional wellness.
Yes.
I know, Pastor.
You know, having been a teenager, having been an ambassador, and even a collegiate person, you know, such a time is not easy. This is the time when the parents are calling you a child.
I know.
And at the same time, after you do childish things, then they say, you a mature boy, a mature girl, how come this is not done the way and then you get confused. Am I a child? Am I mature?
Exactly,
Then when the parents are calling you children, your colleagues are saying, your figure is wonderful, you are mature. By the way, can we share some other emotional or some affair with you? And then you say, the other people are saying I'm mature, my figure is good, I look nice, I look cute. And then my parents are saying they are pushing me down.
Exactly, I'm a kid.
And I'm a kid. And then you feel like, what is this now?
You know.
And your emotions are perturbed.
You want to feel a little bit big, but they put you down.
They are putting you down.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes then when you take yourself to be down, then they are pushing you up. And so it is very, very perturbing as far as it is concerned. And it is that but there are advantages of really learning and knowing how to control our emotions. People who are emotionally healthy are in control of their thoughts, feelings, and behavior. And so when we grow into emotional wellness, you will be able to control your thoughts. It is true. I love this quote, as much as I'm doing it a little bit early, but I'm giving it to the listener and the viewer.
I know.
That somebody called T.D. Jakes had to say, it doesn't matter what people say about you.
Exactly.
What really matters is what you say about yourself and what God has said about you.
Exactly.
You know, like yesterday we are studying about our physical wellness. Somebody may say you are too short, you are too tall,
I know.
you are too brown, you are too dark, you are too big, you are too lean. Whatever you are can be abused. But when you remember what God said about you in Psalms 139, 13 and 14, he says, I am wonderfully and beautifully created.
Like
Candy, I can see if the viewer really saw you standing compared to me, they
Exactly.
would see that you are tall, and they would, of course, by the way, dear viewer and listener, let me tell you this. People will always abuse your beauty spot.
Exactly.
In fact, if I was to abuse you, I would say, you are as tall as a tree. Look
You
at
know?
it. You know. And by the way, if you were to abuse me, what
True.
would you really talk about? My beauty spot. Can you mention
It's-
one?
it's-
And
it-
mention it in the form of an abuse. You look like...
Actually, you look like a mushroom. You know, such kind of things.
Yes.
Emotionally, you can be
If
really
you have
down.
a certain body organ which is a bit remarkable on you, like what can you talk about how I look? Maybe what when you are describing somebody, don't you know, Pastor Sadi?
Actually, yeah.
Who is this and this?
I will
Can
say,
you mention some
Pastor,
things?
Actually, when people look at Pastor, they will say, no, do you know the other pastor? He has a little bit big eyes, he's a little bit short, he's
And
a
so
little
when
bit
it is,
dark,
when,
you know.
when you are to abuse me, look at
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
You have big eyes. Kumbe, it is a beauty spot. Dear
You
viewer
know.
and listener, just go in your archives and you review whoever has ever abused you. It is always on your beauty spot.
Exactly.
God created you wonderfully. And so when you have emotional awareness, when somebody says, look at it, you are short, because I am short. Kumbe, it is a beauty spot.
Exactly.
When I am moving among us hanging wires where we hang clothes, when I am moving with my son, Candy, for him the wires will always catch him. For me, I'm just walking because
You know?
my shortness is a blessing to me.
I
don't
know,
mind
I
about
know.
the houses where I enter the doorposts.
I know,
I
I
don't
know.
mind, but for you, you have to mind about
I know.
because you can easily knock your head up
Yes,
there.
our dear listeners and viewers, remember we are talking about emotional wellness. You might say these guys are starting to abuse each other on air.
No.
We are trying to bring up some expression that you teenagers and ambassadors go through because we are dealing with emotional wellness.
Yes.
We are trying to trigger your mind that regardless of what people are talking about you, please emotionally you have to be at par.
That
because
is true.
Jesus Christ, that's the way he created you. And remember the Bible says that we were created in the image of God. So regardless of what people talk about you,
Yes.
just praise God. You are dealing with your emotions.
You can imagine, we thank God that some students, especially the candidates, are soon going to school. But you know, some teachers are a little bit funny. They can say, you look like a nut, you're a donut, you are nothing, you are a fool.
You know?
By the way, you are going even to fail. But
Such kind of
it's
words.
not the teacher who determines whether you fail or pass.
I know.
Believe that God is with you. He
I
promised
know.
that, behold, I will be with you. And so you live beyond the obvious. You live beyond what is there. And therefore, you'll be able to cope with the challenges that come your way if you are emotionally stable. Then you can keep problems in their perspective and bounce back to the set to the proper lifestyle.
Wow,
you know,
that's very
when
nice.
somebody says that I have cursed you, there was a teacher who spoke to the candidates and said, I have cursed your class
Sure.
and you are going to fail.
Can you imagine?
By the way, do you know that even some of these teachers sometimes they really push us so low,
I
and we
know.
feel that we are lost.
We are nothing.
They abuse us amongst our friends, and then you will feel so small. I want
You
to
are
tell dear
belittled.
listener or viewer, you are really belittled as you
Exactly,
put it.
yeah.
But let me tell you, you were created in the image of God. I remember in Jeremiah 29:11, the Lord says that I have wonderful plans for
Exactly.
you. Plans to prosper you,
Prosper
to give you
you.
a good end, a good future. So child of God,
you
live
expect.
beyond what people say. Live beyond even what you go through. Sometimes even just your results may really prove that you are a poor student. Remember,
I know.
I remember someday you talked about Ben Carson. We were talking with you. Can you tell the viewer?
Actually, when Ben Carson was
he a
coming
very
up,
good student?
Not at all.
Was he very sharp?
Not at all.
Please remind us.
Not actually. Ben Carson says
Yeah.
this guy used to fail in class. He failed and failed
Not
and
failure.
failed.
He was the last.
Say it like that. And remember, even before,
Yes.
this Jack Ma of China, this guy said he wrote, he was trying to write his biography and
Yes,
all
right.
what he has gone through life. He said he was invited they invited 64 to KFC. But the 63 all passed. It was him who failed. But right now, who is Jack Ma? Jack Ma of China.
You can imagine.
Exactly.
You can imagine.
Such
this gentleman was
personalities.
amongst the last students. And whenever the teacher would read, he would read from the best to the worst. And when he could remain with one paper in his palms, the class would whisper, Ben Carson.
I know.
But the mother told him, you are not a failure, you are not poor, you can make it. And so he kept the problem in perspective, and God was able to push him. He is among us, if he's not the best neurosurgeon the world has ever registered.
He's the best.
And you can feel good about yourself and about others, and you have good relationships because you have emotional. You know, when you are pissed up, somebody said you are as short as a yam, and then you say, now you want to fight. By the way, when I was still a child, when I was in primary one, they used to call me Sekimpi Chikomba Mutaka, which means that I am short, that when I take out my tongue,
you can lick the ground.
I can lick the ground. And that made me to fight.
Wow.
That made me, by the way, just in that 1 year of mine, I was expelled out of school. Because I didn't know how to control my emotions. I had not appreciated that I was really short. And that was a beauty spot on me. It has seen me through life. We have been running in marathons. But for me, I can negotiate the corner much easier than the tall people like you. But I'm not meaning that the tall people are not good. Because for you, you also have advantages. That is your beauty spot. You can pick things which are high, where I cannot. So whatever you are, whatever you can be, God has created you wonderfully. You can deal with other people very well. You can be happy all the time. By the way, let me say, a person who is emotionally well does not mean that he's always jolly. You get hiccups, you get annoyances, you get problems, but you live beyond them easily and quickly. Emotionally healthy people feel stress, they feel anger, they feel sadness, but they know how to manage their positive and negative feelings. They can tell whom or when a problem is more than they can handle on their own, and so they can seek for assistance from people. By the way, one of the biggest secrets I would like to share with the viewer and listener is to always learn how to share your problems out. Don't carry the problems. A problem shared
is a problem solved.
You have said it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, it is very, very important that...
Pastor, to listen to our listeners and viewers, we are discussing about emotional wellness.
Yes,
Pastor, what are the benefits of this topic? Because someone would like to know. They are discussing about this, but what are those core benefits?
In fact, I have already given them
out advantages
that you will be able to live in all situations. I have already given them out. However, allow me to say that how can we really live up to that?
Exactly, that's what actually was going on, Pastor.
Which ways, how can we improve and maintain our good emotions to have that emotional health? By the way, emotions can kill.
True.
Many teenagers, many ambassadors have died.
True.
Many have committed suicide.
True.
Because of some things that have happened to them. You shared your nudes with somebody, and he has put them viral on the social networks, and you feel you are really worthless. Child of God, it is true.
You feel completed.
You feel you are finished.
Exactly.
But let me tell you, let that one not shatter you down. You are more important than how the situation is taking you, how somebody is expressing that one to you. You are very, very important. How can you now live beyond the obvious? Be aware of your emotions and reactions. Exactly. If you're a person who gets pissed off very quickly, please choose to run out of the situation that pushes you into anger, that pushes you into rage, that can make you to do revenge. Try to push out of that situation as quickly as possible. Know your weaknesses. Know your strength, and so you can live beyond the obvious.
But Pastor, before that,
yes, please.
You know, we are talking to these teenagers and ambassadors. Some things we read them, but is it really practical to these guys? Because someone gets emotional, they are dying, think they are depressed. Really, how can we help this person? Because we may tell him, no, run away, do this and do that. But in the reality, how can this person really...
let me say this. Thank you for that question. It is because you are psychologically weak. You know, when I tell you that you are useless, you are this. But when you know that, no, I was created in the image of God. God has a purpose why I'm in this world. By the way, there was a parent. It is true this parent had chosen to produce like 3 children. And somehow the 4th one slipped the family planning method they had. And so every other time this parent could say, you are mistake, you are mistake. And by the way, when he could go for shopping, he could shop for the other 3 and says, you, of course, I told you were a mistake.
It was
and
beyond.
When I get money, I will buy you your things. This was on visitation day. And the parent was really punishing this child for no good reason. If your friends will share anything with you, it's up to them, but you are not on my budget. He could pay school fees for the other 3 and leaves the 4th one. When he has money, he can pay. I told you, you are a mistake. I didn't like to produce you. And this child was always... But we remember whispering to this child, to God, you are not a biological accident.
I know.
Child of God, I want to whisper this to you. You are not a biological accident.
Very true.
You are not any form of accident. You are a child, you are a person who was created out of God's will. And He has all the plans and all it takes for you to go through life. It is true you might have gotten problems financially. They are chasing you out of school. Always you have issues with your friends. You lack friends. Always when the teacher comes to class, you are always pinpointed out. It seems like you have an omen. Let me tell you, God says that He has special plans for you. I love, by the way, can you... But prepare to read to the viewer Psalms 41 verse 10 as I go through this point. Be aware of your emotions. We have already seen this. Express feelings in the most appropriate manner. When you are in anger, please save the words you would say. Don't say it out all. Be careful, because the words you say can never be. I've heard people saying, withdraw that statement. Withdraw that statement. I've already said you look like a monkey. By the way, can you say that I look like a cat or anything? Can you say that one?
No.
You say that one. Just say.
Oh, Pastor, you look like a cat.
Okay, now he has said I look like a cat.
Exactly.
But when you look at me, dear viewer, am I really a cat?
You know, actually, Pastor, that's a problem. When someone say that, Pastor, you look like a cat, and you re-echo that and you say, oh, I look like... It's like you're losing your esteem. You don't know who you are, and we are trying to deal with who you are.
Yes.
That voice
you were created in the image of God.
Yeah. You're not a cat. By the way, when you keep on re-echoing that, I look like a cat, I look like you're going to get emotionally depressed, but we are trying to put up the point that, no, you're not.
You are not a cat, child of God. Even if somebody says you look like one, by the way, you look like God. By the way, I like somebody who said in some of the statements on social media, when somebody was growing fat, the wife was growing fat. Instead of saying you are growing as fat as a pig, he said the image of God is increasing.
Wow, that was a super statement.
So the image of God in you, Candy, is tall, and the image of God in me is short.
I appreciate
yes,
that.
but
I appreciate
instead, when I say you are as tall as a tree, say no. The image of God is just
actually
tall.
I will tell you that I'm about to reach heaven. Pastor, you requested to read this verse, Psalms 40. Was it 40 verse 10?
41 verse 10.
41.
Yes, 41 verse 10. And you'll see God is saying a lot of things to you, child of God. God is whispering a lot.
It says, be merciful to me, O Lord, and restore.
41:10, Isaiah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. It was a slip of a tongue. But as you're opening...
I know.
It's keeping feelings or anger or sadness or sadness adds or builds stress. It can affect your relationship and work and even school. So you need not to keep those things. Can you read that as we share that one?
Do not be afraid. I'm with you.
Yes, please.
I am your God. Let nothing terrify you. I will make you strong and help you. I will protect you and save you.
This is God promising. This is God promising. So don't really take those words from people as they say. Think before you act. Take time to think. Be calm and control yourself. Before you say or do something, take time to really reason it out, and then you can go ahead. Manage the stress. Somebody had to say, don't lose your temper because nobody wants it.
Exactly.
I've lost my temper. Don't lose it because nobody wants it. So learn to relax. Like they said, deep. You breathe in if in case you have been angered. Breathe in.
That is how it releases the body.
You can breathe out.
Wow.
Then think positively. Is there something that you have ever done well? Have you ever led in a certain marathon or in a competition? Anything that has ever been good. Remember that one. And you say, well, as much as this has failed, or as much as somebody is saying I'm not good, but God has ever used me somewhere, somehow. And then you put on. Then you can also do some exercises. Exercises can help in relaxing the muscles, and then you can have emotional wellness. Strive for a balance. Balance the work and balance the things that you're doing. Balance work and play, activity and rest, business and leisure. So you can then have a positive focus, child of God. And so with that, we can really have emotional wellness. Take care of your body. Remember the word which is called New Start. Nutrition, eat healthy and well-balanced meals, exercise regularly, take water, sunshine, be temperate, that is to control everything, have air, and even have rest, and even trust in God. That is very important. Avoid drugs. Of course, child of God, even if you have been pissed up, somebody has abused you, you don't need to take alcohol, you don't need to take cigars or even bangi or all those things that you can feel high. No, you can control your emotions without using or abusing the drugs. Let not your physical affect your emotional health. Then connect with others. It is very important. It is very important. And with all these, I remember and I know that God can push us very much. Before we break off, I want you to read Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 to 7. As we say, in everything stay positive, even when you have lost it. Before he reads, I remember I was in a certain exam, and I really messed up myself. It was a 2.5 hour, and it was the final exam when I was in college. And it was a 2.5 hour exam, but 1.5 hours I had messed up whatever I had done. It was technical drawing. And when after 1.5 hours, my brain was telling me, now you have 1 hour, you have failed. I talked with my brain, I have not failed. I have just known the mistakes that I have done. Now do it rightly. There was a compulsory number. I used the first 30 minutes to do the compulsory number. We had to do the other 2 numbers. So I used 15 minutes to do the other 1 number and 15 minutes to do the other. So an exam for 2.5 hours was done within 1 hour. So you are soon going for exams. For those of you who are candidates, please control your emotions, stay positive. Even when you seem to have failed, believe that God is going to lead you through.
Yes,
how
Pastor,
does Philippians has to say?
Philippians
4, verse 6 and 7.
Verse 6 says,
God is giving us
don't worry
counsel.
about anything.
Yes.
But in all your prayers, ask God for what you need.
Yes, please.
Always asking Him with a thankful heart. Verse 7 says, and God's peace, which is far beyond human understanding, will keep your heart and minds
peace from God will keep your minds and heart
safe in union with Christ Jesus.
That is where I want you to be. Live beyond the obvious. Live beyond what people say. Live beyond what happens to you. Live beyond even what you experience. And you have that positive mental attitude that I am a special child of God.
Pastor, since time is not on our best ally, only give us two points that can sum up everything.
Surely.